What would you do if a new family moved into your peaceful neighborhood and made it their mission to make everyone miserable? In today's story, one woman's patience runs out, leading to a masterclass in calculated revenge. For over 20 years, I've lived in this quiet little neighborhood, and it's been wonderful. I love my neighbors. We're a tight-knit group. But 2 years ago, a new family, the Walshes, moved in and began their reign of terror. This family just sucks. It's hard to know where to even begin. They are loud, dirty, and obnoxious. Their dog barks at all hours. They constantly scream at each other. And they throw raging parties late into the night. It gets worse. They literally trained their Rottweiler to steal my elderly neighbor's newspaper every morning, which is impressive in a twisted way, but so incredibly wrong. They let their dog do its business in other people's yards and just leave it there. They even had the audacity to sneak into my 80-something-year-old neighbor's yard and cut her prized roses for themselves. Who does that? We tried everything. We tried talking to them. We tried inviting them over for a barbecue. We've done nice things for them, all in the hope that they would start acting like decent human beings. It never happened. Now, in our neighborhood, parking is a constant challenge. Most of the homes are classic 1950s designs with single-lane driveways, so street parking is limited. A few blocks away, there's a busy street with popular restaurants and nightlife. So on weekends, our street fills up quickly with overflow. The Walsh family has 4 drivers and 5 vehicles, but only enough driveway space for 2. They would constantly park their cars on the street for days, sometimes weeks at a time, often leaving their own driveway completely empty. This wasn't just inconsiderate. It was malicious. They were intentional about it, parking in ways that seemed designed to cause the most grief for everyone. It was a complete and total middle finger to the entire neighborhood. And it went on for months. We all tried to ignore it, not wanting to give them the satisfaction of knowing how much it bothered us. As one commenter later noted, in many other neighborhoods this would have led to keyed cars and slashed tires by week 2. But we were trying, desperately, to be the bigger people. Then they escalated. The Walshes made their move, deliberately blocking driveways to cause maximum grief. They were completely unaware that this petty escalation was the final push that would set in motion their own public humiliation. Most mornings, I had to get my husband, Martin, to come outside and guide me as I backed out of our own driveway, just so I wouldn't hit their car. They'd also squeeze in so tightly behind my neighbor's car on the street that he was completely blocked in. Finally, one of our retired neighbors had enough. He went down to the city police station to ask what could be done. He found a city code that required a certain amount of space to be left clear on either side of a driveway. A week later, we came home to find freshly painted yellow curbs outlining the entrance to every single driveway surrounding the Walsh house. A few weeks after that, a bit of fate intervened. Martin's car broke down and had to be towed. On the way back, he got to talking with the tow truck driver, a great guy we'll call Big Mike, about our nightmare neighbors and their parking habits. Big Mike told him, "If those cars are parked illegally, call the non-emergency line. Once they get a ticket, you call me. I can tow them at the owner's expense. It's the law." Martin and Big Mike hit it off. They even met up for a beer a few nights later to talk about the Blazers. Rip City. The universe wasn't done helping us. About a month ago, we met a new couple. And it turned out the husband was a police officer. Let's call him Officer Davis. When we met up with them that Friday, I told him all about the Walshes and their parking war. He said he'd be happy to drive through the neighborhood on his shift. And if he saw them parked in the yellow, he'd ticket them without hesitation. He even told a few of his patrol buddies to keep an eye out. We started calling the non-emergency line almost daily. But for a while, nothing happened. Then, one Saturday night, Officer Davis sent me a text. He'd ticketed 3 of their cars. I missed the text, so I didn't get to call Big Mike for the tow. But I figured 3 tickets in one night would surely send a message. It didn't. The illegal parking continued off and on all week. This past Saturday was the final straw. The Walsh's teenage son, Kyle, decided to throw a party. And every single one of his guests, plus the family themselves, parked illegally. They blocked driveways. They parked entirely in the yellow zones. They boxed people in. It was obvious the little brat had told his friends to do it on purpose. This reveals Kyle's greatest fatal flaw. Inherited directly from his parents, a profound arrogance and belief that he was untouchable. A trait which would ultimately seal the fate of his and his friends' cars that evening. I sent a text to Officer Davis, who told me to call the non-emergency line and he'd handle the dispatch. But I was already scheming something much bigger. First, I called Big Mike. Mike, I said, I've got at least 15 cars parked illegally on my street, blocking driveways and fire access. They're all about to get tickets. I told him we had a friend on the force who was about to light them up. He and I schemed a little further. And we had a solid plan. Next, I called Officer Davis back. I laid out our plan and added a crucial detail: the party was almost certainly filled with underage drinkers. Now, I hate busting a party, but I make an exception for entitled kids. And especially for entitled kids who might get behind the wheel after drinking. He and I finalized the timing. Here's how it all went down. Officer Davis and 3 of his partners swept through the neighborhood, methodically placing tickets on every single illegally parked car. While this was happening, Big Mike had assembled a fleet of tow trucks in the nearby grocery store parking lot, just waiting for the signal. My husband and I watched from our window as the tow trucks began their work, starting at the far ends of the street and moving inward with quiet efficiency. A few car alarms blared for a moment before being silenced. But there was no way anyone could hear them over the music from the party. When the tow trucks were approaching the Walsh house, Martin made an anonymous call to the police about a loud party with suspected underage drinking. Conveniently, Officer Davis and his partner were still in the neighborhood, so they were dispatched to check it out. We watched as they walked up the driveway and knocked on the door. Instantly, the music cut off. The lights went out. And the house fell completely silent. At that exact moment, the final wave of tow trucks descended, their amber lights flashing across the now silent house. They started hooking up the remaining 5 cars parked directly in front. I can only imagine the scene inside. Peeking through the blinds, the kids would see the police on their doorstep and a fleet of tow trucks hauling away their rides. The panic. The whispered arguments: do they run outside, admit to the underage drinking, and try to stop their cars from being towed? Or do they stay hidden and watch as $250 plus per car goes down the drain? They chose to stay hidden. As one commenter on my story later put it, the city and those tow truck guys made a boatload of money that night. The next morning was glorious. On Sunday, 3 of the towed cars returned. And all 3 were parked perfectly, just shy of the yellow lines. I'm calling that a win. To add a cherry on top, Martin and a few neighbors spent the afternoon loudly installing new security cameras on our houses, talking excitedly about how all the lights and police on Saturday made them nervous and they wanted better footage of the street. Some might say we went too far. But nothing actually happened to the kids at the party besides the expensive lesson in parking. In America, police can't just enter a home without a warrant. Since the kids didn't open the door, the officers couldn't do anything but leave. Ultimately, the story is a powerful reminder that living in a community is a two-way street. While patience is a virtue, there's a limit to what good neighbors should endure. And sometimes a well-executed plan is the only language some people understand. So, what do you think? Was this meticulously planned revenge completely justified? Or did it go too far? Let us know in the comments below.